building the business turns you into a different kind of human being.
Realize that failure is a part of the journey.
I think there's hope out there for all of us.
They say procrastination be the assassination of destinations. That's why we out here grinding with no association with haters and them other crabs trying to put us down. Pest badges in the house, boy, don't clown. Just keep your eyes on the prize, ain't no giving up. You can do whatever you dream of. Just keep your eyes on the prize, ain't no giving up.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. At this point, I don't even know what episode I'm on, so I don't even say it anymore. I've done I think I did like 5 or 6 last week, and I've done a couple this week, so they just kind of mend together. But I've been looking forward to this one. Pretty popular guy in the industry, really well known. The business name is very, very well known in the industry as well, so it's pretty cool. Really excited to have you here. I know we've been planning this for a couple of weeks. But we've got Andrew Burress here today with Natura Pest Control. And it's good to have you here, man. I'm excited to learn a lot from you, and I'm sure the listeners will be too.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to be here. I've been following you guys for a while and love the work you're doing and excited to chat today.
Yeah, me too. So I always ask the same question because I just like to know like what fuels you, like how you came up. So if you and I were like a sophomore or junior in high school, who's Andrew in high school? You know,
it's a funny story. This is why I love entrepreneurship so much is like the answer to this question. Andrew in high school was, he was a big dreamer. He's a procrastinator, sort of put off the stuff that he knew he should be doing, and never was really up against it too much. Right. And I did door-to-door sales after I served at LDS Mission, and you know, I feel like that's a pretty natural segue for a lot of guys.
For sure is.
They go into door-to-door sales after their missions. And so I actually stumbled into security my first year. Didn't really like the pressure of the sale, like the fear-based sell so much. So I jumped over to pest control.
And you're like, what, 17, 18 at this time? 18, right?
I was actually 21 when I got back. So I turned 21 my very first summer out. And you know, it was a really good learning experience. I didn't like the fear-based selling that security does. And so I sort of let somebody know. I can't remember if it was just a friend or a contact, but I was like, I really liked the door-to-door sales space. I just didn't like security. And they're like, hey, well, I know a guy. He's in pest control. You should try that out. So I stumbled into pest control, did that for about 4 years, the door-to-door sales thing, and then wanted to jump into the operations side of things. And once that sort of switch hit of me wanting to jump in operations, I finally sort of had to face the music and start to study a lot more and, you know, become a little bit more well-rounded. And so I got an opportunity for some ownership in a small branch and took the leap of faith and, you know, haven't turned back since. So
yeah, for sure.
I think for me, the entrepreneurship journey is amazing, no matter what industry you're in. You know, it makes you face yourself and you become your biggest enemy and your biggest advocate. And it's a fun little journey.
For sure. Let's rewind a little bit. Your first year out, tell me how that went and who did you sell for year one?
For pest control?
Yeah.
My first year out was it was through a marketing company called Spark Marketing.
Okay.
My business partners, Danny Edvilson and Greg Young, had started it. It was their first year. We sold for a company called Impact in Dallas, Texas. So we sold there for a couple of years. And then the last 3 years, I was in California, sort of like Central Valley, California. So I ran a team for Clark Pest Control, Clark South for 2 years. And then we sold for Natura my very last year. So
nice. So how was it your first summer out?
It was like drinking through a fire hose, right? Like you think you know sales. So you're sitting there promising customers, you know, this, that, and the other. And I was probably that sales rep that was over-promising just a tad bit too much. Those first
You'll never
months,
see a mosquito again, ever.
Never. Yeah, like our tech will do jumping jacks in the attic. No problem. That's what you want. And so
it's so true.
You know, I did some over-promising for sure. I oversold a job so bad that I had the technician like find me in the neighborhood, and he was like, "You're going to come help me do the service," and I was like, funny. "You got it." You got it. You're
going to wipe down the entire house.
Yeah. So I became familiar with some initials by overpromising.
That's funny. So your first summer, how'd it go?
It went good. I was in like the 120, 140 range. after cancels, I think it was a good experience. I knew that the money wasn't going to be the same as security. Security I'd sold like 110 and made a decent amount more, but just the way I felt about the sales, I was like, I'm gonna stick with pest control. Yeah. Like it's just a better vibe. I like it a lot more.
Yeah. And so how's your next, 3 summers go? Yeah, 2-3 summers go with that marketing company.
Yeah, I mean, it was a ramp up, right? So
for sure, the first year is always the hardest.
It is.
The second year, you just come out of the gate swinging.
Yeah, you do, and you sort of know what neighborhoods you like. Like I started to learn really quick. Like I loved new construction.
Yeah.
For some reason, like I always just killed it in new construction. So I just made sure I was always in those neighborhoods. And so after a couple of years of doing that, I became a sort of like a team lead and managed the sales reps and stuff. And it was fun. Like it presented a whole other list of challenges of trying to get other guys to go out and sell well and protect their mindset while they're out and about. So, I mean, it's
the hardest part.
Summer sales is just a beautiful beast.
It is. It's a beautiful beast. What are some good tips if you're running a team to keep the guys motivated?
You got to let it be a sales culture. Like sales reps are sales reps, right? Yeah. Like you want them to be sharks. You want them to go out and get. You just have to come in. And I think the biggest thing for me was teaching them to really buy into who they're selling for and go get them the best accounts possible, right? So I know a lot of sales reps are very self-interested in their own commissions, and their own stuff. But if you could always supplement that with a taste of like you're becoming a part of a team, and the team needs you as a maverick, but like this is what it means for the team when you do well is they do well as well. It's like became a little bit more symbiotic. You got a little less overpromising
for sure,
and the accounts got stickier. So your back ends were a little bit less of a surprise at the end of the year.
Yeah, and that's what I tell all my guys. It's not how many you sell, it's how many you keep.
Yep. Yeah, you can sell 200 and you can lose 100, right? So I was always a big proponent for, hey, let's shoot for no more than 8%. 8% is definitely industry leading, but it's like, man, that would mean a lot to the pest control company that gives us the best chance of selling for them again next year. So it becomes sort of a multi-year type selling point.
Yeah, and then which like I just said, like the best thing. Like you said, if you go sell 200, it's fine. But if you lose 100, you lose 50%. There's just, you did all that work for nothing. And most of the time, it's just going over the agreement, just being honest and upfront and not over promising, overselling. Honestly, it's not that hard.
It's not. Yeah, especially if you are really selling for a well-ran pest control company.
Right.
It's easy.
Yeah, and then what were the commissions like back then? Like, what were you guys getting paid back then? Remember?
Man, a lot less than they are now.
It's ridiculous now.
Dude, I think we had like 55%, 60% no cost marketing deals. Like that was what you were hearing of.
What was the ACV back then?
Yeah. What's that?
What was the ACV back then? Which is the average contract value was back then?
I would probably say it was like 525, 500.
Yeah.
It was pretty low. And in California, we were selling a lot of bi-monthlies.
Cool.
We were never selling in the quarterly game. Like I really was only selling monthly or bi-monthly.
Right. Which makes sense for California, right?
Yeah, 100%.
What was the difference between selling in Texas versus California?
Texas was funny. Like, everybody has, in California too, everybody has pest control.
Yeah.
Right. So you're largely perfecting the switchover pitch of like who does a better job. But Texas pest control was, I call it the Wild West, dude. It was like they had stuff in the yards, they had stuff in sprinkler boxes, they had stuff, everywhere. And so really to have a good pest control company was like, they are good and we mean it because they have bugs down there. So like, you'll know if they're good or not because they're going to see bugs if you're not good at all. So
for sure, I
would just say the pest pressure is very, very different in Texas. And then California, like in the Central Valley, we were in a little bit of a vacuum. We didn't have a ton of competition. And so it was selling against old family owned businesses, right? Like, you weren't selling against door-to-door sales companies as much. So the switchovers were a little bit more of a grind and harder to get.
For sure. I totally understand that. Those are the hardest switches ever,
Yes. And rightfully so. I love when customers are loyal to their fan base for sure.
Agreed. I agree 1,000%. How much has the industry changed knocking other than commissions from then till now? What would you say?
I think it's changed a lot by sort of the trailblazers that we've seen in the industry of guys coming in and just how many golden doors we get year over year. Like,
and they keep raising and they keep hitting it.
Yeah. And so it's like, man, just like the mindset of what's possible, I think is very different. We were at different commission rates and different, sort of like a little bit in an old school pest control world still back in the day, where they focused on quality, not quantity. And, nowadays, it just seems like there's a lot of companies that have mastered a little bit of both.
I agree.
They get quantity, but they're also still quality. Like they're not trash when they sell a lot. So
pretty wild, isn't it?
It is.
Have guys go sell 2,000 accounts in a summer. It's like,
yeah, I'm like,
Jesus,
wowza, like
$1,000 ACV. Like, holy man.
I mean, those are the days that you're like, I'm in the wrong profession, right? I have the wrong job, but to go out and get 2,000 accounts, I mean, those guys grind.
Yeah, but we've had 2 guys in the past 2 years hit over 1,000, which is, I mean, it's a ton.
Crazy. Yeah.
And they go nuts and they're young and they're just killers,
Well, and those guys come out so much more buttoned up nowadays than we did. There was always an element when I was selling where we were out there to have fun as well. And the kids nowadays just seem like they're business. Like they have fun, but it's like they're 90% business, 10% play.
Yeah, and it's like they're on the doors by 11. They're not taking lunch, and they're grinding until 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, depending on where you're at,
Yeah. Sometimes I'll get a sale coming in, at like 9:30 or 10. I'm like, oh, like, man, that guy's out there.
Yeah, I love it. We had, it's still dark, it's getting dark like at 5:30. We had a sale come through like 6:30 last night. Like the kid's grinding already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. He already had I think he had 7 on the day yesterday. And then I think he had a call back this morning. His last one was at almost 7 o'clock last night. It's February. He's already out grinding. It's crazy.
Yeah. Snow and all, man. Those guys
they don't care.
Mindset. They don't care.
Hold up. Quick pause. If you're on a pest control company or fertilization weed control company, you're not in our Facebook group, you're choosing the harder path. Every operator that's in there is skipping years of mistakes because people are actually sharing what's working right now. So stop trying to brute force your way through growth alone. Search Pest Control Millionaires on Facebook or click the link below. And now let's get back to it. Yeah. So then you go sell for Clark. You're running a team out there. How many guys did you have underneath you there?
Yeah. So the team that I ran was down in their Santa Clarita branch, like North LA area. I think we ended up with, we started the year with, I think 13 or 14 guys. I think we ended around 9. There's always a few reps that fall out.
Always.
It was an awesome little area, selling in North LA's San Fernando Valley it's a weird area. One neighborhood's really ghetto, the other's, $5 million houses. And
right.
It was a really fun experience. That was probably my favorite area out of all of them.
Awesome. And then transition from there, the next year you go to Natura. How does all that happen?
Yeah. So I think that, the OG founders of the Spark, the marketing company, after a few years had the natural thought of, we're selling all these accounts for other people. Why don't we sell these for ourselves? And they opened up, I think their first area was in Tracy, California. And then they acquired and sold in Turlock. And then I think their first area was Turlock. They bought and sold in an area called Tracy and then grew down to Fresno and Bakersfield. And so when they were growing through all those different areas, we still had a couple teams selling for Clark and then a couple teams selling for Natura. And then as they kept opening up areas, they needed to pull in all the sales reps that they had in Spark and sort of deploy them inside of Natura. So we grew to, I think, 5 offices inside of Natura, the Central Valley. And the next year, after 1 year of selling in Central California, the next year is when I jumped into operations as a branch manager in their Bakersfield, California branch.
How do you go from being a sales guy to a branch manager? What was the learning curve like for you? Huge. Like the level of technical work that is involved when you're first getting to know pest control is a pretty steep curve, especially with like Central Valley. There's a lot of like roaches, bed bugs, like specialty type services. So I was thrown in it, and again, just drinking through a fire hose. I think my sales background helped me immensely just because I was able to sort of bridle passions a little bit with customers that might've been upset or, sold a bad account, being able to talk them off that ledge and reset expectations was huge for me. So bridging those two worlds was fun, but I'm also a guy that likes to. I just wrote that down. Like that was my next question. It's like, how do you bridge that gap? We'll get to that.
Yeah. It's a fun transition, honestly. I was always a a bit of a work with your hands type guy. I grew up framing and doing construction and stuff. And so it sort of checked all the boxes. I found myself selling people still, working with my hands still, doing some office work, and just the mix of everything was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you kind of, you've already been on doors for 5 years, and at 5-6 years, you kind of start to get burnt out, want to do something different. It's just natural evolution,
Absolutely.
But then now you're bridging the gap between your sales guys, your team, and then your service. 'Cause there's always a fight, right? How do you bridge that gap?
A lot of patience, and through a lot of mistakes. There was times where I was taking the side too strong with sales reps and the side I was taking too strong with operations. And it's a delicate balance, it's important to remember if you are using summer sales reps as a vehicle to grow. I mean, they are your growth, and you got to sort of treat them like they want to be treated, and bow the knee sometimes and bend and not break. And I didn't really navigate those waters very well the first year. I learned that nuance through a lot of mistakes of when I say this, they mean this, or they're in good intent.
Give the listeners a good example of something that you learned.
Yeah. So, for an initial service, for instance, right? Like the over-promising, there's technicians that show up and they're like, dude, they said I would granulate every single time. Like, what the heck? The
whole yard.
Yeah, the whole yard. Like every square inch, they said. And they were expecting me, and they were watching me service every square inch. And it's like, such a bad account, this, that, and the other. And it took a year to explain the nuance of I actually transitioned calling the initial techs instead of an initial tech, revenue captures. So
I like that.
Your job is to go out and capture that revenue that's pre-sold. And if it comes through having to over-deliver or deliver above and beyond of what we normally would do, it doesn't necessarily actually undo anything pest control related that's not productive, right? If we granulated every square inch, it's just that much better of a service. And so helping them understand your time's paid for, right? We're going to cover your time that you're out on the property. You're not going to miss out on any money there. And two, that's a new customer. We want to onboard them in the best way possible. If that customer has a good first 2 experiences, they're with you for life.
Yeah. Do you keep, I don't know if you guys still do door-to-door at all?
We wound down our door-to-door sales. This is going to be our first year going into the summer. This will be our first year without sales reps.
Cool. So just a question for you then. Did you guys like to keep the start technician different from a recurring technician? Or is it always the start technician was always start technician? Yeah,
we spent a lot of time with our initial techs, so we always had them different. We did a custom schedule too, so we could do a little bit more servicing per technician. So we switched to 410s, and then we switched to a schedule that we did front half, back half flex.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Summer sales experience, holy cow, they grow a ton. We just didn't want to keep affording vehicles, but we would spend a lot of time, probably 45 days before the sales reps hit the doors, training those sales reps or the initial technicians on how to really go out and revenue capture, really go out and upsell while they're servicing, really go out and manage expectations and re-anchor expectations, basically how to become a better sales rep. Because that first experience is just so important. It's it just has to be specialized. They have to have core focus, and pulling somebody over one day is always a need because sometimes attendance and call outs or whatever, but 99% of the time you want a specifically trained guy for that.
Yeah, I like that. And then were you guys having that technician go over the agreement again at the door, or is he just, I figured that.
Yeah, we created a same page document as well. So we had a contract and then a same page document that highlighted everything where they had to reinitial it. And that really helped retention for sure when we did that.
That's why I asked. We do the same thing. What are some, since we're on the topic of retention, because you brought up, what are a few other things you can do? Those first 2 visits that will really help with retention as well.
Don't assume.
This is probably the number one question that I get asked myself.
Yeah. I think the thing is a lot of guys get into the industry expecting what they do to be wildly different than others. And it's really just not. The special sauce is in the customer service end of the thing. And
we're a customer service company that just happens to do pest control. I say it over and over and over again. Yep.
And you have to just beat that into the ground, right? Until it's dead. But the very first year, we stopped assuming we were doing a good service and actually called our customers and made sure that made a huge difference because we got really, really good feedback of this is where we were good, this is where we weren't, right? And we started getting data back from our customers so we could actually pivot from.
It's so important. You have to know. I agree. Whether that's via a form or if it's via a call, like you have to know what your score is, right?
Yes.
How can you improve your score? Where could you improve your service? Where can you improve customer service? Like you got to watch that score all the time, your net promoter score. And if you can move that net promoter score by half a point or a point every single year, you're doing something good, you know? Super important. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with like how many customers you take on so quickly through summer sales. It's like, it's really easy to have people sort of fall through the cracks. And so creating a good, solid feedback loop system for like a process for somebody to follow in the office, man, that moved the needle for us in a major way.
Love that. Why, I didn't know the answer, but I'm just asking you, why are you scaling down the door-to-door team?
So there's a funny thing that happens with door-to-door sales. You sort of have to swallow EBITDA a decent amount that first year. And when we started getting the data back, over the last following years, what we've seen is our LTV to CAC get a little bit lower. And our retention with sales reps wasn't changing either, right? So I think the industry is making a little bit of shift of the markets that we were in. And we decided like long-term, year over year, sales reps probably aren't the smartest move. Like we need to move into more traditional form marketing and then supplement on top of that sometimes with sales reps, right? Like later on, sales reps either through an acquisition or just build up route density.
Agreed, 1,000%. And yeah, like it's so important to know your LTV to CAC ratio, and people just don't have a clue, especially they're just starting out, which is nothing wrong with it, but you really got to dial that in. You know, when you're paying guys 80 to 110%, it's hard to make that work.
It is. And like the no cost marketing deals, like that's really what's ultimately killing a lot of that LTV to CAC. You know, it sort of takes away that cream that you could potentially play with or have in your EBIT at the end of the year. So we just wanted to sort of pay down some strategic debt and build up the war chest for some acquisitions in the future. And we're like, hey, let's go into some traditional form marketing. So
yeah, so you guys scale back door-to-door team, increasing EBITDA, have more cash, go buy another company, grow that way. Yeah, obviously you probably dump more money into Google Ads, things like that.
Absolutely.
Cool. So your first year, your branch manager, what happens from there?
Yeah, so I was branch manager. It was actually only supposed to be 1 year. It ended up turning into 3 years, and probably because I sucked the first year. So I ended up being a branch manager there.
But you sucked, but they didn't fire you.
Yeah. There was probably luck on my side of that of having a prearranged agreement to become an owner there. So we had an agreement to like go get some experience before I opened up my own shop. And
it's smart. I like that.
It ended up being a blessing in disguise. Like during the time, I was obviously annoyed by it, but I look back at that. I'm like, dude, I wouldn't change that for the world. Like those extra 2 years did wonders for me. And so I was there for 2 more years.
Some sweat equity.
Yeah. So I was there for 2 more years. I didn't have any equity when I was in Bakersfield. And then in 2017 is when I moved out of California to Reno, Nevada. And we opened up shop here in Reno. And that's the branch that I eventually had some equity in. So I did a buy-in. I had some sweat equity that I was able to get, and then some other buy-ins, you know, starting year 3, 4, and 5. And then Danny and Greg, my business partners at the time in Austin, they had some other branches out in Oklahoma and some other things going on. And so I was sort of, ever since 2017, always just sitting there scratching the door, like, hey, like let me in on a bigger share. And, you know, eventually I think it was 2019 became a full owner, full partner. And then we've gone through a couple partnership buyouts. And so it's just whittled down to me and Greg as owners, but it's been an awesome journey. It's been super fun.
We don't have to say names, but can you just like walk us through the process of what that looked like and then the challenges that you faced through that process?
Yeah. Of the ownership?
Yeah. Because I mean, you hear this all the time. This is super common in the door-to-door space. There's like 3, 4 partners in each branch. And then at some point you'd have to be naive to think that they're never going to, like all of them will last forever. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And it's, you know, you grow up into, you know, this sales rep to operations to now partner, and you really quickly learn. I mean, every step's drinking through a fire hose. Like you really quickly learn like, oh, it's not my way or the highway. I don't have full say and sway. Like it's not my branch, it's our branch. Like, and the biggest thing that I learned and saw was And it's not right or wrong. It's not good or bad, but it's so important for owners to have shared vision, because especially when you're starting out, you're small, you can rule with gut a little bit more than maybe when you get bigger and you have to start like relying on data more. And those first years, if you don't have alignment with your partner, man, you get organizational whiplash like crazy. And the employees feel it. You don't grow as fast. You're burnt out. You feel like you're pushing a rock uphill. But if you get the right partner with shared vision of where they would like to be in the future, what type of business would they like to have, and to make decisions when the going gets tough, business gets a whole lot easier. It's hard all the time, but it can be easier than people make it.
Yeah, I agree. And then how do you guys decide? There's 4 people. How do you guys decide, like, hey, we're going to buy these guys out? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah. So the first buyout was sort of up above where I was at, right? I was an owner in Reno, but I wasn't a full partner yet. And they decided to buy out one of the full partners, just because they weren't on the same page. They wanted different things. They wanted to go about business a different way. And so I was sort of outside looking in. And, I definitely learned a lot from that, because I sort of heard things trickle through of what was happening and why. And then when I got in full partnership, about a year and a half in, when we started having needing to have constant partnership, meetings of talking about like what we want, where we're at, how long are we going to be doing this, where would we like to be, like that needle just kept moving all the time. And one partner eventually just sort of bowed out and was like, I want out. So that one was a little bit more of like a voluntary out. He was burnt out. And luckily me and my business partner were on the same page with what we wanted. So we felt comfortable sort of buying out of shares and keeping the thing going. I think had it been the other way around, where one of the other partners that were on the same page wanted out, I think we probably would have sold the thing and all gone our separate ways, which I know happens to a lot of different companies too.
For sure. So was there a preset evaluation in your agreement when you bought out those shares, or did you guys have to go get evaluated?
There was not.
Gotcha. Okay. It's for all you listeners out there. Yeah. A good learning moment for you.
I was like, Jonas just laid a golden nugget for everybody.
Yeah.
I have always been a huge proponent for, no handshake deals, right? Like emotions change, situations change, vacuums change, right? So
it's like a prenup.
It is. A partnership is like a marriage. A good one is like a marriage, right?
And I think you should have those conversations. So I don't mean to cut you off. Have those conversations before coming to partnership. What it's going to look like if and when something does happen. And you guys are at that point, you guys are both getting along. You're both state of mind. You both agree on something right then and there, saying, if this happens, this is the result. This is what we do. Exactly. Again, a handshake works really well until you both are pissed off in a different mindset. One person maybe feels like they're getting screwed over, the other person doesn't, and now you guys are going to court fighting over this thing, which should just been preset. So if you guys don't have that in place now, please take the time, get a lawyer. Cost you $500, $1,500. Go get it done. Have an operating agreement in place saying, hey, if I'm going to sell, or we're going to sell, or if I had a buyout partner, this is what we go off of. Yeah, and to drive that point home, Jonas, I'd be like, and be exhaustive. Like, there's so many different situations that might trigger a what if. Take the time and go through every single one. Yeah, and it could be anything, like it could be a death. I was just going to say a death of a family member, or someone gets, they were single, now they're married and they got to move. It could be anything, Anything. So yeah, be exhaustive and make sure that stuff is set up first. Because any entrepreneur, you're starting a business to make money and support your family. Cool. So you didn't have this in place. So how does it come? Like, what are the next steps? Yeah. So the next steps are negotiate like crazy, right? And hope that you still have some good faith left. And luckily for us, it had been I think that it had been a time coming, right? A long time coming. So the exit was inevitable. It was sort of felt between all when the partner was like, hey, I want out. Negotiations went super smooth. Everybody was super calm heads. And we found a win-win. And it was probably the best exit I've heard of or been a part of. And I'm just super grateful, right? Because
had it been in another vacuum, like I said, where he wasn't ready to be out and we wanted him out, it would have been a very different situation. So I was very lucky and fortunate to have good faith sort of through that negotiating process. And that negotiating process is long and lengthy because it's not just about the multiple of what you want for your shares. It's also like the tax implications, like the corporate structure. Like, do you have an LLC structure, an S Corp structure, whatever? So it's like all these little nuanced things that start to surface up during those talks. Becomes a lot really quick.
Yeah, because people don't understand that as soon as there's an equity buyout, that triggers the tax implementation. That just does. And so then you got to pay on your taxes too. So yeah, it's not like you just sign a dotted line and it goes away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people probably view it as that. That's why they don't do like legal agreements and get that all figured out early. But I'm like, there's so many people that come to the table when a situation like that happens. So it's like part of that getting it onto a legal document is that lawyer's going to help you navigate all that kind of stuff. Right. And like word the buyout as a certain way. So you're not hit with taxes in the same way. So we were very lucky and fortunate also in our sort of structure. We changed from an LLC structure to an S Corp strategy.
Yep.
So we were able to view that partnership buyout as an asset purchase, which really helped our tax situation. So that put both of us in a really good scenario. So
did you guys have to get an evaluation right then and there? Did he force you to do it, or did you guys just kind of do it yourself?
We did it ourselves. Yeah, we've luckily been a part of a decent amount of acquisitions of buying and being sold, and so we knew what was going on in the industry. We knew what was pretty market fair. We knew our financial situation. I think both sides did. I don't think any side really reached during the whole process, and so I think we were lucky to have the experience that we did. But it would not be the same if somebody was not in the industry or didn't know what multiples you could get at the time. You know, like every business owner is going to value their company pretty pretty high.
For sure. You mentioned meetings with your partners. How often do you guys do that now?
You know, we have we run our business on EOS. So we have what we call a VI meeting every Friday for about an hour and a half. When things are going well, those meetings last about half hour. When there's something to talk about, you know, we'll take up the full time. And then we usually do a partnership meeting once a quarter, right before our quarterlies, just to make sure that we're still on the same page and like try to view anything that could potentially be coming up from the team or over this next 6 to 9 months. And we have a good cadence now, for sure. But we meet weekly and then once
every Wednesday at 11.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Are you integrator or are you visionary?
Visionary.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. My business partner, Greg's the visionary and I'm the integrator. So it works.
You got to have both. You do. Did you guys hire an integrator to help set up your EO or EOS, or did you guys do it yourself, self-implement?
Yeah. So we, his name's Nathan Fox. He's in Boise, Idaho. And he is an absolute stud. So we've used him. Gosh, I think we ended up using him for about 4 years. And now we're to the self-implementing stage, and we still use him and plan on using him for the annuals. And then we do our own quarterly cadence.
Yeah, we wanted to have an implementer as well. And at that time, this is 6-8 years ago. And so there was just no one around. So one guy said he could fly into Milwaukee, then we could meet him halfway, like through Milwaukee, and I was like, I'm not doing that.
There's no chance.
We just kept self-implementing. And now they're kind of everywhere, but we've been doing it for 6 years on our own. So now it's like, well, yeah, we could. And it's just like, well, and it would probably help. I'm not saying that it wouldn't. But we're this far into it. It's like, oh, we're doing good, you know? But at that time, that's just why we didn't. There's just no one around to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. For us, it was, it became a really good tool for the partners, right? Instead of getting organizational whiplash, getting on the same page. And so, man, it's been big for us for sure.
And so when was that last buyout?
So not this last summer, but the summer before.
So recent, yeah.
So we finished that at the end of 2023. December 31st is when that became official.
Yeah. What was COVID like for you guys out there?
You know, it was really weird. Nothing really changed for us except for the mask and temping people. And second, somebody said they had a headache. They had to be off for 2 weeks type stuff, you know, always chasing what they were saying on the news. But we had summer sales reps, you know, they wore masks. They still sold decently well. We were still able to do initials, you know, like people were letting us in the house. So we were labeled as essential and luckily still had sales reps. And nothing really changed too much, which I've felt very fortunate about, because talked to other industries, they got crazy disruption. And I was like, ooh.
Because this came out like March-ish, 16th. I only know that it's my daughter's birthday. So you have sales reps coming out in May. Did you guys start right away, or did you postpone till June, July?
No, we just went rocking. We just sort of said, hey, we're sort of out there on eggshells. So if anybody does mention the fact that they don't want you there, maybe don't push as normally hard as you would, right, as sales reps do. But we just sort of said, be mindful and let them go to work.
Cool. Yeah, it was our first summer doing door-to-door sales ever. New company, new everything. I didn't know what to expect. So I think we held off till like June. So hindsight 2020, I would have never done that, but I just didn't know. You know what I mean? I had no idea.
That's like the theme of COVID. It's like, dude, you didn't know. That was the problem. It's like everybody was just sort of flying by the seat of their pants all the time.
And then how many acquisitions have you guys been through now?
I have...
or actually, how many have you been a part of? Yeah,
we sold the California operations to Terminex in order to get out of California. California just became a little bit overregulated for us. We had Oklahoma branches for a couple of years. We sold those to Moxie. And then we have acquired, 2 companies in Boise, Idaho. We acquired the company up in Tri-Cities, Washington, from somebody that we've known in the industry for a super long time. And so we've been a part of, 6, I think, right now, as of right now. And every single one has just been a little bit different, but
always different. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's been a wild ride.
Give us some advice on that topic, either purchasing or selling, maybe both.
Yeah. So as the seller, it's a little bit, I would sort of suggest treating it like buying a house. Like the time to get ready is not at the time of selling. The time to get ready is like 2-3 years before. For
sure. So you can start working on that.
They're going to probe you. They're going to probe you 3 years deep. And so making sure you're in alignment, right? So like if you are a summer sales company, just knowing and doing your research and talking with people in the industry. This industry is so like giving of information. Like it's so abundance based that like you can talk to anybody about anything and they'll most likely tell you everything you need to know. So like go find the information that you need to find out based off where you're at now and what exit you would like to get. Like sellers, I think
built to sell, right?
Yeah, sellers, that window for them is I think too small. Like they wait until they're fully burnt out and then are like, screw it, like I want to leave. When in reality, it's like, man, if you could stick it out for 3 years and get right on paper, like that multiple could mean retire.
For sure.
So yeah, that would be the seller side. The buyer side.
Would you bring it to market yourself or would you hire someone to market it for you?
That's a great question. With us, because we have the experience and we know enough people, I think we would comb individually first. And then depending on how that is going or what the market is doing would probably drive that for us. I would say if somebody doesn't have the experience, please go get somebody, because they're going to go to bat for you and find a win-win, right? So it's worth it. It's like the lawyer for the agreement. It's like it's always going to be worth that money.
Yeah, when I see people posting their things on Facebook or maybe on like a job board, I'm like just shaking my head. I'm like, don't.
Yeah, that's not the place. That's not the place. Anytime they do that on a job board, I'm like, please hire somebody.
For real.
Like go to somebody else. Like, well, no,
for real.
Like, can help you out.
And there's some good companies out there too. Like they're like you said, they'll go to bat for you. They'll get the best evaluation. Maybe you got to pay them $50,000 to $100,000, but they'll probably make you $300,000 to $400,000 or more. How about on the buy side?
Yeah, buy side. So on the buying side, it's really easy to get caught up in the emotions of like the customer count.
Oh, God, I'm so glad you said that. Especially as
it's like, oh my gosh, we're about to grow by 3,000 accounts. But you have to do your due diligence, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I always say like model private equity, like there's a reason they make the money they make is because they do their due diligence. Due diligence, I think, is a lost art. I think people just because they know how to service a house, they think they can acquire a customer base. And it's just not true.
There's way more to it. Yep.
There's way more to it. It's like a sales rep saying I can start my own company, right? It's like technically you can, but
I have a whole YouTube video on this topic alone. Yeah. Totally.
You're going to have to work 10 times harder than the next guy to be able to get half the results, right? So Due diligence, I think, is so important. You have to look at attrition. I think that is the biggest driver of any business. But when you look at like revenue and EBITDA, you have to look at that growing year over year. You have to look at attrition. You have to look at employee churn. Like you have to look at all those things. And I think a lot of people overlook, those things. And any one missed point, it could cost you a lot. And
you said right out of the gate, like it's hard for us as business owners to not be emotional about the deal. We get so wrapped up in the deal. Like we want to just go purchase it because it's 3,000 customers. But when you do your due diligence and afterwards, you just have to be willing to walk away. And honestly, I learned that the hard way. And I was like, the deal was so sweet. I thought I could do way more with it and backfired. But I learned, and it was a good experience for myself,
Expensive, but good experience, no doubt.
And thankfully it wasn't too expensive, but still cost me some money, But it's like, after 3 years, it'll be a win.
Yeah, it's, but I think for buyers too, you can't just be looking at the deal. You have to be looking at a year from now, what's also happening, right? Like your way to grow has to not just be through acquisitions. You have to once you acquire that company, you have to have a vehicle to continue to grow, right? Like you will still experience churn through that customer base you acquired. They don't just automatically stick. And if you don't have sales reps ready to layer on, higher cost accounts or bigger route consolidation
because your natural attrition is going to be roughly like 20% anyway.
Yeah. And so if you don't have your eye on the ball.
And then you could probably add an additional 10% on top of it because it's a new company, especially if you're going to rebrand and do all that stuff. Like it's just natural.
It is.
So you're pretty much 30% churn minimum right out of the gate,
Yeah. And I think
so now you got to grow by 30% just to break even. And then another 10 to 20% to grow,
Well, and I think when you get it wrapped up in the emotion of it, you're like, but we're better.
Agreed.
So
and you probably are. We probably were.
Customers don't care.
Yeah. Here's a good example. Because it's my own experience. The company that we bought was around for 20 years. And they just did things way different. And so when I say way different, they're spraying the entire house top to bottom.
Baptized.
And then we show up and we can't, by law, we can't, what do you want us to do? We can't do that. And so people were just mad out of the gate that we weren't spraying their entire house.
Right.
And so that was a good learning curve for myself. I should have never probably bought that company for that reason alone. Because now we switch, they're coming with these big power sprayers, just dousing the whole house, dripping everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And then having their technicians, it was crazy. They're wearing chemical suits, top to bottom. They're wearing a freaking hat because they're spraying everything. And then we're changing them to where we were, going from power sprayers to backpack sprayers. The whole service changed. The customers what the hell is going on at the new company? They're not doing what they used to do. Yeah, so it's very
visual for customers, right? They don't inherently know all the science or biology or environmental factors. They see visual cues, and somebody spraying with the backpack sprayer when they're used to a big freaking fire hose, there's a loss of value there to them, right? So
and although we know as operators, it's probably a better service with a backpack sprayer, but if I've said this a million times. If a truck pulls up with a power sprayer versus a truck that pulls up with it, no matter, same brand, same everything, which one looks more professional? And every single time they're going to be well, it's the power sprayer for sure.
Yep. It's all the visual stuff that. The dog and pony show still exists nowadays, right? So you give a customer any reason to look for another company and they will.
So all that just to say, you have to look at all those small nuances when buying a company, not even beyond the data.
Yeah. And the fold-in strategy, right? So like you said, that's not a data point where am I going to have to retrain all these techs to a new way of doing things? Just that alone, if you risk all of the employees churning, that has to be into your strategy. You probably shouldn't pay another 0.5 in a multiple if you know that you're going to have to go hire and replace every single technician that you're buying. So, there's just so much nuance in there. It's a bunch of what ifs, but there's a lot of data and research that you can do to hopefully mitigate those risks.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with AI these days, you put in the data, it pumps it out for you, which is pretty cool.
Dude, AI is a monster.
Yeah, and then you have all these people that you see online. They're they were doing like $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year. They're going to get a 3 times multiple of their revenues. It's like, bro, no one's going to pay you $900,000 for this company.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I saw on paper a company that was, I think they were doing 750, which was great. I think their EBITDA was 5%, 4% without sales reps. And I'm like, hey, buddy, there's a leak somewhere in your boat here. So, yeah.
But they still think they're going to go like as you said, these companies that come in, they're buying cash flow. That's all they're buying. They're buying the customer count, of course, but they're literally buying the cash flow. And if there's no cash flow there, and you can add some back stuff back in, but there's no cash flow there. It's just not worth what they're going to pay. They're not going to say, hey, I'm going to go buy this company for that multiple that you want. It's taking me 10 years to pay it off. No one's ever going to do that. That's why your company never sells.
Yeah. Well, especially the length or time that you've been in business, right? So a lot of guys that are 250, 500, they're like, I've been in it for 2 years, don't want to be in it.
Or they've been in it for 25 years and they never decide to grow.
Yeah. And I'm like, both scenarios actually aren't great when you're looking for like a high multiple, because it's like.
But at that point, at that $250,000, just yourself, like you just have to remember that you've paid yourself probably like $150,000 the last 20 years. So you've made really good money.
Right.
But the caveat to that is you didn't grow this thing. So when you go to sell, it's just not going to be worth anything. You just have to remember that. And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly it. And I know that Hormozy, right? So it's like, well, that's key man risk, right? Because we're gonna buy this revenue, and all of a sudden we have to plug in people to service that revenue. So that EBITDA actually doesn't look as good for us, right? So,
and like he says, like every single company, no matter what company, every single company has key man risk, no matter what.
Yep.
And then I'll bring this up to other companies. Like, yeah, we don't have any key man risk. I'm like, every company does. Like, you show me which person here isn't that you could replace tomorrow.
Right. Well, it's when you say that, it's, oh my gosh, I don't think you know really too much. Right. So that alone is going to drop that multiple. There it is. I love that. But the detractors, that's the nuance in the homework and the due diligence that people just do not do. And those detractors end up being the deals that I either go really, really well or really, really poorly.
Yeah, and if the people didn't see what I held up, it's just it's a business scorecard from Alex. This is literally what I go off of.
I love it. It's so simple.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I study this manual top to bottom. I mean, I have it on my whiteboard because I'm always looking at stuff,
Yep, I did the same thing. So I attended that event this last year, and man, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah. Did you go do the workshop?
Yeah.
Awesome. It's fun.
It is. And I think that the reason I've really attached that so well is because it's just so simple.
Very simple, yeah.
Right? It's so inarguable. It's like it just takes all of these what you feel like are complex issues and sort of boils them down to really simple numbers.
Yeah. So I actually brought my CFO with me when I went, and he really enjoyed it. Obviously, he's a numbers guy, so he loved it. So and then I sent him. He went through an MBA program online, and then I put him through like acquisitions thing online through one of the big colleges. He's getting really good too. He is. I shouldn't say getting. He is really good. And then, so when I went out there with them, that obviously we were doing the revenue that Alex wants to work with. So they came to us, they wrote us a letter. It was really cool. All they did is super smart, loved it. And at the end of the day, gave me a letter, say, hey, this is what we're doing for people like you, blah, 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 blah. And so I had my CFO with me, and they asked us to do like their L2, which is like basically everything that he does with his partners, other than maybe like a third meetup for the year, or fourth meetup for the year, but they do everything else with you. So I was like, I don't think we're going to probably do this. And my CFO was like, no, we're doing this. I was like, let's go. So yeah, I got to go spend the day with Alex, which is awesome. Learned a ton. Got to spend 8 hours with them. Learned a ton. And then I'll be back out there May 1st, I think, for my L2, and then whatever else I do from there. So we're going to redo it again this year. So yeah, super cool. Learned a lot from him already. Everyone's like, you paid $130,000 to spend 8 hours with him? Like, yeah, I did. And it was worth every penny.
Yeah. Guys like that really quickly on their feet.
There is so much that I've learned,
Yeah. There's a reason that they were able to charge what they want to charge is because of the value they give you.
Absolutely. And like people, they say it all the time, you spend $130,000. I'm like, yeah, but what I've learned from there will make me over $1 million this year by itself, Like it's you have to invest in yourself. You have to reinvest in the business. You have to grow. As you said, from a sales rep to a branch manager, branch manager to a partner, it's like a fire hose. And it's constantly should be like that every day of your life. If you're not learning every single day, you're not growing.
Yep. That's exact. It's you got to treat yourself almost like a business, right? You're not growing, you're dying.
Absolutely. It's funny that you said that. My grandpa was an entrepreneur, and I was probably 25 when I started my business. And he, from the day that I started, he owned a grocery store, and then he owned a couple other things too, but he did door to door as well. And he had a grocery store, and he had like one of those freezer trucks, and he would deliver like groceries, like a route. So he didn't want to go out there for one job, so he'd go knock on doors to build up his route. Anyway, that's one of the first things he ever told me: if you're not growing, you're dying. Like, I was 25 years old, and I remember that line.
Yeah, it's a good line. It's a great line. I mean, you got to hear it somewhere, but you got to pair the actions with it, right? Once you hear it,
Which is the hardest part, right?
That is.
Everything looks good on paper until you get kicked in the face. It truly is.
I mean, that's the life of an entrepreneur, though. It's like learn how to get kicked in the face, you'll do just fine.
Absolutely. I know we're running out of time here, so I want to kind of switch gears to Natura now. I know you guys obviously scaled back your door-to-door team. You go in more traditional marketing, acquisitions, work on EBITDA, which is cool. So what are the goals for the next 3 to 5 years? And you guys talk about these probably every Friday. What are those goals? What are you guys looking to do?
So our 3-year picture right now is $20 million in revenue with an 8% attrition rate. So we're going to chase those two things pretty darn hard, and then our sort of core target beyond that is we would love to be in the top 20 PCT top 100 list. For some reason, when I've got into the industry, my ego's always looked at that 20 spot. And so I was like, let's just steer into that and let that exist.
Yeah. And it's like, people ask me, they ask me all the time, well, are you on the list? I'm like, technically, no. But we busted through the list years ago. But I don't know.
For some reason,
I'm so competitive.
Yeah.
Like, it'll piss me off that I'm not at the top. Yeah. So it's like, I don't even want to be on there until like you said, like top 20,
Top 20. So that's, those are two targets.
Something to prove for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like you have those lists and they're super awesome. I'm not talking bad about anyone that's on it. I think it's epic. Like, congratulations to every person on there. But it's just like a target once you're on there. Like, then all of a sudden, like, your email gets blown up like crazy. Like, you're a target at that point. So yeah, I've thought about it from two different perspectives. Like, would it look good for the business? Absolutely. Of course it would. You know what I mean? Employees would probably love it. I think it's super cool. And ego, of course, wants to be on there. But it's like, other than that, like, is there any other reason to be on there? I don't know.
Yeah. And so,
but like you said, like top 20, badass for sure.
Yeah. So that's the hopeful trajectory. So we've made some investments in some good people, some leadership team decisions and roles, and sort of been doing that pre-investment, pre-growth strategy stuff. Dude, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. What about yourself personally? What's your goals?
Yeah. So, I mean, goal number one is be capable of running a top 20 company, right? So I hired I've done a lot of coaching groups over the last couple of years. I've really enjoyed them, but I wanted a little bit more personal touch this time around. So I went and hired a performance coach that was here locally that I'm able to meet with every single week. I was able to find somebody that was super awesome, great fit for me. And so I tried to get a little bit more granular too with going into everything, right? So not just like, how can I be better at work? It's like, how can I be a better dad? How can I have better energy? How can I be healthier? And try to look at it in sort of more holistic. I've always been so career focused. I've focused a lot on work, and I've seen growth, and it's been great, but I've seen neglect and not as much growth in other areas. And so I was like, I need to be more rounded, right? So that's sort of the goal this year, is to try to tap into my spirituality again, my family, my energy, my health, all those things, as well as business.
And I think that's natural for entrepreneurs. Like, it's the first 10, 15 years grinding on the business, and you look back and your health went to shit because you're eating that quick chip or whatever every single day. Yep. Fast food. And it's like, oh crap, man, your health gets out of control, and then relationships fall apart. I've been through, one divorce when I was young, when I first started in the company, and then through another relationship, like over the last couple of years, that I had to let go of. I think it's natural evolution. Like, of course, I don't want anyone to get divorced. I didn't say that, but it's just, like you said, we're so ultra focused on this one area of our life. Like, other start to fall apart a little bit. And it's like, well, you know, everyone's like, I got to have a work-life balance. I just don't buy into that shit. I just don't.
No. I don't
think there's ever going to be a balance. It's usually like 90-10 or 80-20 or 70-30 or 50, whatever, you know, I just don't buy into it. But I will say that I've given myself enough time through the last few years where my one thing that I will not do is I won't miss my kids' stuff. I will not do it. So wrestling meets, dance competitions, like I just won't miss them.
Yeah. Yeah. I've started doing the same over the last year and seen a really big benefit to the relationship I have with my daughter, the relationship I have with myself, right? For feeling like I'm saying no to things that used to take the importance and placing it with not something that's less important, that's actually more important for me, and seeing that direct net benefit, right? So
because we only have them, like my oldest daughter's going to be 16 in less than a month. So she's a sophomore in high school. She's wrestling. She's a killer. She's fun to watch. My younger daughters are 10 and 6. They're in dance. And we only get these kids for 18, 19 years, and they're gone.
It's such a short period of time.
It goes by so fast. Like, I can't believe she's almost a junior already. Like,
well, and the delicate balance for us as pest control operators, too, is like the busy season is their off season from school.
Yeah, it is.
And learning to navigate those waters early is important. You know, like you need a self-managing company. You need a company that can manage itself without you.
Absolutely.
So that you can go spend that time. Because holy crap, like you said, they're 7 going on 18 tomorrow.
Yeah, and so thankfully this is my second company. I'm still learning, but I learned a lot through my first one. Hired the right people the second time. The business doesn't need me to run. It'll still grow if I'm gone for 6 months. So if I give myself a pat on the back, I'd be like, I built a really good team. I still have a lot of work to do. I'm still learning every single day, obviously. But if I had to give myself a pat on the back, it's like it doesn't need me anymore, you know? Where I can do podcasts during the day like this. I can go sit and go to the gym every single morning, work on my health and work on my fitness. I really take care of myself and my family because it's like the analogy of being on a plane. If you can't, if oxygen falls off, you got to take your first. You can help before you can take give to the next person. So it's kind of the same thing in life. Like if you can't take care of yourself financially, your health, like you can't take care of anyone else around you. Not your employees, not your kids, like not your wife, whatever, you know?
That's exactly it. Well, and you said something earlier, right? Like you took your CFO with you to the aux thing. It's like and you're willing and you're able to pour into other people once you get to that point. That's the
So every single one of my, including myself, every single one of my executive team have coaches. If I need a coach, they sure as hell need coaches.
That's exactly it.
Because we always need to constantly be learning. Because like, there's been points where I'm like, I might have to let this person go. Like, or you have to get better. You guys choose. I don't care. Like, I need you at this level though. And they're like, oh shit, cool. You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's on me too, because early on, I didn't give them enough. I didn't pour enough into them. I didn't give them things that I give them now to go learn and go get better themselves, you know?
Yeah. Well, you always have the mix. You always have the mix, right? You'll have the people that are self-motivated to do that stuff, and you'll have the people that'll take the invitations to do it. There's not one better than the other, but I mean, they're both different monsters, right? So
yeah, and I would definitely rather, this is my personal opinion, and I can be wrong, I would rather find that people who are willing to go out there and want it themselves than for me to have to like say, hey, you should go read this book. Or, hey, you should go find this coach. Like, they're like, hey, do you have a really good book for me? Like, this person's going to be a manager someday. And I'm saying that at every level in the company, from a CSR, sales guy, technician, branch manager, it don't matter. It's the people who are doing the extra work outside of work that are going to be your managers or leaders, for sure.
That's exactly it.
That's my personal experience, though.
Well, and so, yeah, the business coach that I work with, they have experience working with Navy SEALs. Like, that's how they got into that space. And the example they gave was like, you have Navy SEALs and they're really great at what they do. I mean, they're the top, 0.01% of the world. And because they're good at what they do, then they get promoted and promoted and promoted. But every promotion, they're now dealing with stuff that they're not inherently good at because they don't have the experience, right? So it was coaching them to then be good at that next level and change and iterate and go through those different levels. And it was really interesting when she said that, because you don't think about that when you hear Navy SEAL, right? It's like they get promoted, they're always good. It's when you get promoted or you're going up through levels, or even as an entrepreneur, when your business is getting bigger, right? Those are the different levels where you have to be a different you, and you have to continue to iterate and go through growth because you get to a certain size and you're going to start attracting big, talented people. And those big, talented people don't follow uninspiring, not locked away people. So
agreed 1,000%. It's like John Maxwell says, the law of the lid, right?
That's exactly it. So
if you're a 7, you can't lead anyone further. That's more than a 5. So you always got to reinvent and you should be recreating yourself every 2 to 3 months. Personally, that's what I think. Like I look back at my pictures from 6 months ago, I'm like, holy shit, I don't even recognize that person, honestly. And I'm like, I feel like that, like I look at it, I'm like, oh, gross. Like, what the hell happened,
Yeah. It's probably also encouraging though, right? Because it also shows that you're still growing, right?
Yeah. Cool. Last question for you. I know we're kind of going over a little bit of time here. I always end this the same way. What are you most proud of?
I am proud of the life that I'm living currently is the one that I always dreamt of. I struggle with always wanting to be 3 years from now and a year from now and future. But because of this performance coach, I've been able to sort of really reflect and start to appreciate more what I have now, which has immediately made me like more happy, like more joyful, more upbeat, more positive, like looking at gold lining more often. And I think it's been a benefit to my team. Hopefully they would say the same of like, he's not as cold, focusing on the one miss, but instead focusing on the 9 hits. And so, yeah, it's just, I'm grateful for where I'm at and excited about where I'm headed.
Love that. And I think that the way you approach it is, hey, we had 9 hits. Great job. There's this one miss. Let's talk about that. But bring up the 9 good things first and then the second thing. And that's how I approach the same thing with wrestling. My daughter wrestling. Here's what you did. Really, really good job. Like you killed it, murdered it. Here's what we need to work on, And I think that watching the evolution of her, and I've been able to coach high school team, been able to coach obviously everyone in our company, outside of the company, and then like coaching her, it how it works. It's roughly the same, It's pretty cool. I love it. You're a stud. I love watching what you're doing, like from the outside looking in. You're killing it. Congratulations. Thanks for everything that you do for the industry. Keep pouring your heart into the rest of us because we have a lot to learn from you. So again, thanks for being with us here today, and can't wait to look forward to you in 3 years. We'll be in the top PCT top 100. So looking forward to watching you.
There we go. Thank you, Jonas. I appreciate, it's ditto to you. I love your stories, love following you in your journey and everything that you're doing for the industry. It's a fun time to be in the industry right now.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, but the podcast isn't free. Please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app. This makes a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions about your business or your personal life that you'd like answered by me or any of my podcast guests, please send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about our marketing class, we do a live version every Thursday night. Check out our website at pestcontrolmillionaires.com. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one.